Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a AOC Pro Cup presentation of MiTH-Trust versus ADN Gaming. This is the second game of this best of 3 series, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. The first game went in favor of MiTH-Trust, some great split push activity with the anti-mage, and pretty much the perfect team to support them in that endeavor. So we'll see a bit of a different draft here as ADN ban out the Batrider. They're not as familiar with it as they thought they were. They don't want to have to deal with it this time around, but they are going to snag the Slark as a nice little first pick here. So Nixon, Assassin, Invoker, and Pugno were the other 3 bans, and this should be an interesting game as we get underway with the draft. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. I am Blaze of Dota Talk, joined by Congo Kyle. What's going on, man?
Not much. I just
10 seconds
just thinking
remaining.
now, ADN need to bring this back somehow. I mean, we have had
5 seconds remaining.
our second best of 3 for the day, and the last one went 2-0. So I wouldn't lie, as a shoutcaster, I'd be a little bit disappointed. And as the guys watching on the stream as well as Dota TV, I think they can share in my disappointment if this does go 2-0 once again. Especially those guys putting a lot of rares, keys, etc., and also those betting on that bet for the game. Especially shout out to the guys at Dota 2 Lounge for handling the bets as well as that bet. And yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, first pick on the Doom. Not necessarily a mortal counter to the Slark, but does make Slark's life a lot harder. And I guess it does kind of limit what ADN will have to pick up next. I mean, it could force Slark into going something that, like, you see the Slarks going for the BKBs, stuff like that, and it may force the Slark into going something along the lines of a Lincoln Sphere, which is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for a Slark at all to go for the Lincoln Sphere. It just gives him that much more sort of sustainability in big team fights, as well as makes him that much more annoying as well, not being able to get a couple of spells off. They do, however, pick up the Darks here. Please give us an Ember Spirit. I just want to get so used to this hero, and I want teams to start using it, and I want teams to start noticing just how powerful that hero is, especially in a lineup. I think it suits MiTH-Trust. If you saw how they dominated the last game in the early stages, I think if they pick up an Ember Spirit here, especially comboed up with that Dark tier, it's going to be absolutely detrimental to their early to late game.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that they can kind of get those synergies up and get some really cool AoE wombo combos. In general, any ground target disables are going to be really good against Slark, who obviously is completely untargetable during his ultimate, therefore it's harder to deal with. But we see this pretty interesting pickup from ADN Gaming. The Chen selection actually bodes pretty well for kind of transitioning their old style into a new one, in the sense that the Heroes of North Jungle is actually, unless it's changed since I played it, which it's been a year at least, so probably it has, but last I knew the jungle was very similar. Like, I don't think there's a Dark Troll summoner creep, but otherwise very similar creeps to use in Micro, and it's a very similar hero conceptually to Ophelia. So I think that's a pretty big deal that they're going to be able to take those old well-practiced habits and put them into something new. And I think that will bode pretty well with the fact that they're banning out the Enchantress and won't have to worry about that tug-of-war with the enchantments and so on and so forth. They just have to worry about that Doom Devour being a little bit too powerful against a few Chen neutrals.
Yeah, and they pick up the Chen and they ban out the Enchantress. I still feel Enchantress has a much better effect in the late game. I mean, Chen Hill does help out Slark a lot, as well as sending him back to the base, so that is maybe one of the options they can go for if Slarked up. Just send him back to base, TP's back in once his ulti, once the Doom's gone, and pops his ulti and runs back in and tries to get a couple of kills. That's one option they could go in for. They pick up the Dragonite as well, so they could look to put... I'm going to maybe assume here that we're looking at an AAB, I'm calling him ABBA, an ABBA Doom in the solo mid, and up against Dragonite, it's actually a lane that Dragonite can do relatively well in. Doom having very low base armor at level 1, and Chen as well helping out with maybe a Wild Wing Ripper, sending in the Tornado middle just to push back and give Dragonite the start that he needs. And Dragonite excels really well against melee heroes, especially when he reaches that level 6. He's able to pop the Dragon form, the Elder Dragon form, and apply a little bit of harassment to the Doom and get a couple of ticks of the poison down on him. So nice little pick up there as well. They do pick up the Crystal Maiden as a support, so they're also looking at options for that carry. I would like to see the Bristleback being picked up here. Crystal Maiden works fantastically alongside the Bristleback with that mana regen, just allows him to spam out. If he does get a quick Bassi ring, you just be able to stay in lane and spam those quills and really just hold back the lane and farm pretty effectively.
Yeah. As far as Abba's name goes, I've always wanted to call him Abba as much as possible, but like I got really chewed out by a couple of SEA guys when I didn't call him AABBAA. Apparently you are supposed to pronounce each one of those, even though it's really annoying on the tongue. But it looks like he's going to be the one to pick up the Storm Spirit this time around, so that's going to be pretty nice to have that range of initiation, that level of aggression, and maybe they can pick off the Slark before he gets any of his cool spellcasts off. Orchid definitely would go a long way to accomplishing that. As well, most importantly, it's just the lane dominance. Storm Spirit versus Dragonite is a no-brainer matchup. Unless there are some amazing Chen smoke rotations, this is going to go completely in favor of the Storm Spirit. And seeing as we saw how the mid-matchup snowballed last game into kind of spilling over the other lanes, how effective one player could be over another, I really do think that if Storm Spirit gets the lane that he's expecting as Dragonite, around level 6 you're going to see some rotations, and it's going to get ugly for ADN.
Yeah, Storm Spirit pick up, that does give them a lot of options, and as I mentioned, the Doom not maybe being the best matchup for the Dragonite, but Storm Spirit on the other hand, could go for, if he wants to, get the early levels in the Electric Vortex, just to really apply a lot of pressure to the Dragonite in the mid, pull him back, and as you mentioned, once those rotations start coming from the level 6 and he has got those 3 levels in Electric Vortex, you'll see heroes like the Chen being picked off, even Slark in his safe lane, even if he's in the safe lane, depending on what MiTH-Trust pick up as their offlane hero, you could see him being picked off as well. That's the one thing about the Chen as well, is that he's going to be in jungle, so that does leave Slark slightly vulnerable to just being in a dual lane, and that does give the Storm Spirit and the respective offlane hero a slightly better chance, as long as it's not a sniper, as we saw before. It does give the offlane hero a bit of a chance, and that does limit their sort of early game, I think, a little bit. Although Slark is, he does handle the lane perfectly by himself, and although he's not one of the most self-sustaining carries until he reaches that level 6, when he's able to sort of just escape away and slither away in his ultimate form. What they'll combo up with the Slark, though, it'll be I'm going to guess something around the edges of a Shadow Demon, perhaps, seeing as though Rubik, Naga, Siren have been banned out, although you don't really want 2 melee heroes in your offlane. Nice. Or you maybe do want to go for the Sand, although Sand could be an offlane as well.
Yeah, in technicality, either the Slark or the Sand could be running on the offlane and has some potential in that regard. But another really nice thing is that if any of the camps in the Radiant jungle get stacked up a decent little bit, Sand King is now a lot faster at clearing that out and getting towards it. I've been practicing my Sand King a little bit for rank supporting and such, and it's amazing how if you can get just a good quadruple stack of anything other than mud golems, if you're pulling the hard camp, that's no issue at all, then you can jump, you can put 2 points in Sandstorm at level 3, and then 30 seconds later you're level 5. It's amazing how much you can get out of that, and it might be enough to force MiTH-Trust to maybe try to be a little more aggressive, more active on the jungle, because it's just going to be so important where Chen is going to be, if he's going to be stacking for Sand King or stacking for himself for the Wild Wing Ripper. It really remains to be seen, but in general there's going to be a lot of emphasis on the Radiant jungle, getting a lot of resources out of that, and then from there around the maybe 10-minute mark with the Elder Dragon form and a couple of Chen creeps at their back, they're going to start pushing and being aggressive and getting towers, which will also fuel towards Sand King's Blink Dagger, which of course, as always, is of the utmost importance.
Yes!
Wow.
Yes!
Team pick.
Last pick up a spreader, I like it. I was kind of looking at them maybe picking up a support hero there. I was going to mention the THD just because of sort of the close proximity team fights that ADN will have to carry out. You got your Dragonite, you got your Sand King, you got your Slark getting up really close and personal. Ice Path going through the Shadow Dance as well, just fantastic as a support hero. But no, they go for the Ember Spirit instead. So we're possibly looking at a Doom jungle, Crystal Maiden, and it's actually quite fitting as well, because as I mentioned, they're going to have 2 heroes in the safe lane as well as a Chen in the jungle. So it's Doom might not be the strongest and fastest jungling hero as compared to Chen, Enigma, and looking at it this way, I mean, they are going to be running, pick up the Mirana as well, which does actually give them, it's actually quite nice. And what this does for ADN in the same time is it gives Doom it kind of messes with Doom's priority when it comes to casting his ulti. I guess the one fantastic thing is no matter who he catches out, it will be a hero that does need to be doomed. As weird as that sounds in a way, I guess although it does mess with his priorities, like he won't say, okay, this team fight, I gotta stop the Slark, I've got to stop the Sanking, I've got to stop the Chen. His priorities now change. He has to either whoever catches the air catches will be, I think, detrimental to ADN's team fight, and I guess that's sort of a plus for them, as well as, you know, Doom. Maybe the Slark gets some really great farm, maybe the DK gets really great farm, so it does sort of mess things up a bit, and it's I actually really like ADN's draft, but on the other hand, I was hoping for the Ember Spirit, and I got the Ember Spirit. So
yeah, it's interesting to see it there as the 5th pick and kind of coming in at the last second to swoop in and potentially do a hell of a lot of damage. And the fact that they have the Darkseer setup here, the Vacuum, actually makes it viable to go for a multi-Battle Fury build-up. Like, usually you see that in the recommended, you're like, 2 Battle Furies, that's for pubs. That's like going Battle Fury and Bounty Hunter. He's not a farming hero, he's a ganking hero. He's one who does a lot of burst damage. But really, when you have the setup of either a Reverse Polarity or a Vacuum, that becomes a completely different story. The potential that you can go with a secondary Battle Fury, or maybe even a 3rd Battle Fury, we've seen that in a recent game as well professionally, and it's devastating. You put Daedalus on top of a Battle Fury or 2, and you can get some amazing combos off with that Sleight of Fist. But we'll have to see the build up.
3 Daedalus.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. Yeah, sorry, I had to open up the door to try and get rid of a very annoying fly that's been harassing me throughout today's casts. So he seems to have disappeared now. So I apologize about the wind through the mic, but door's closed now, so it should be fine. Yeah, the combos. I mean, as I was chatting last night with some of the other players, some of the more better-minded players in South Africa, and we were talking about the Ember Spirit and sort of his slight rise to popularity in competitive Dota as a tier 1 pick, or a last pick and the tier 1 ban as well. And there are better combos, as you mentioned, Reverse Polarity, but I think Vacuum at the moment, as we saw on Saturday, I think it was with Zephyr, when was it Zephyr that picked him up? I think it was Blitz on the it wasn't Zephyr, it was another game that I casted. Just the power that came from the Iron Shell Vacuum and the Searing Chains, but probably go ahead and quickly introduce the players before we see any action.
Yeah, to start things off, looking over the side of ADN in the Radiant corner, the former X-Orange Heroes of New Earth team, now playing as ADN, Applez DreamNet on the Dota 2 side of the fence. So looking over at the roster, starting off it is Mr. Ghost, captaining it up on the Sand King. Going to start off with some good warding over here by the Ancient Camp. Looking over at XXL, aka Fish, he's going to be one doing the Chen jungle, though actually messed up a little bit on their Tango distribution, and I think that's based on, the fact that they may not know as much about the shared Tango aspect. But not a big deal for the moment, just kind of holding it for Sand King for the time being. As we look over at Isolated, aka WTF, he's going to be farming on the carry Mirana, right now going up against the Darkseer in the lane, and having to deal with quite a few Iron Shells. That's going to be a bit of a predicament, but with being a ranged hero, it's not the end of the world. Up on the top lane, we're going to be seeing Polishima, aka Konnichiwa, and that is going to be the Slark on that offlane scenario, leaving Slicks, of course, to be rounding out the solo mid lane.
And over on the side of MiTH-Trust, your winners for game number 1, we've got TNK on the Crystal Maiden, Doom being played by Mashimaru, Storm Spirit in the mid once again by AABBAA, as I was told to call him now, and then KYT in the bottom lane, Darkseer, and finally the Ember Spirit played by Locals. And I'm really excited to see how this goes down. It's weird that they changed up the lanes like this, putting Shima on the off lane. Oh god.
That's not a good way to start things off. I actually only caught the very tail end of that. I know that Doom was trying to jungle in a choke point, use the Shockwave a little bit to clear out the Satyrs, whatever, but the rotation from the Sand King and the Chen together, they were able to really just make him regret his movements there. As they got in range, they got the kill, and yeah, when you're jungling that low of HP, it only takes a couple of spell casts and you're already dead.
Yeah, he picked up the right creep as well, picking up the
great Burrow Strike. You usually never see this good a Burrow action at the level 1 Sand King mark, but he's doing work here, setting up a double kill for the Slark on this top lane, and ADN have just broken this lane wide open. Like, as much as I'd like to analyze about the lanes, this is just broken down into a slugfest where Slark is now level 3. Sand King is setting up kills left and right at the most inconceivably low level of a 350 range barrel strike. I don't know. This is just amazing how well they've been able to catch MiTH-Trust off guard.
Yeah, and it's a great start as well, especially contesting the Doom's jungle. Like I mentioned, Doom is not the fastest jungler. Actually going for a bottom now as well, so really realizing that he's going to need the mana. And he needs to be careful here. There's a stun available. You see the micro from XXL, if he does get the stun off, I think he will. No. Well, I'm just going to use a little bit of harassment here from the sets, from the... yeah, that's what you don't want as a Chen. But at the same time, yeah, fantastic rotations as well, competing with the Doom in the jungle and forcing him. He has picked up the Wild Wing Ripper now, and that means he will be able to stack and get the tornadoes. But middle lane, actually could see ABVA going down here, or Slicks on the other hand as well.
But who will fall first? They're both going to fall, but it is going to be the Dragon Knight to get the first strike. So that means he will get the experience, which would otherwise have been deprived from him. And TNK, it looks like, will take the 100% of the experience for himself, as he was just barely in range for that. So still getting some levels across the board, but Storm Spirit's going to be comparatively underleveled, as actually CM is pretty much rivaling him for experience per minute right now. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's an interesting start here. There was a lot of back and forth between Slicks and AABBA that set them up for that position where they were both so low. But it's just kind of one or the other trying to get the slight advantage, and in the end they just end up trading evenly, so to speak. So yeah, it's going to kind of break down like that, forcing more rotations maybe from Fish to try to keep that pressure up. Very difficult to do though, as we have seen. The Devourer is problematic against his creeps, and so is the Frostbite. And that means that it's going to be very difficult for him to mobilize without facing some dramatic repercussions for his little mini army there. But they do get the nice little burst strike onto Darkseer. He has a surge though, going to pop it right here. Doesn't get body blocked sufficiently, and KYT will be able to make it out of there.
Yeah, and actually that Ghost switching in those early levels of boots, we'll see a lot of rotations coming out from him and Chen. At the same time, I mean, they at the moment they do have two heroes that are just so self-sustained in their lanes. You know, you've got the Darkseer who's getting close to that level. Not Darkseer, sorry. The Slark who's getting close to that level 6. You have Slicks in the middle lane who, as you mentioned, got that experience. He's going to be level 6 as well pretty soon, which will allow him to put a little bit of pressure onto the Storm Spirit as well as the Tier 1 tower as soon as the Storm Spirit gets 6 and starts trying to rotate around the map. For top lane, Polishima could be in a little trouble here.
He's dropping low, but I don't think he's going to die. Doing some damage, but the Sables aren't sufficient. I'm curious about this mid gank. Do they dive here with the Wild Wing? It's not really a ganking creep, but it sure can take a lot of tower hits. ABBA's just shy of level 6. They have to go now if they're going to go at all, and here they do indeed go. So it's going to force ABBA up the river and outside of range of that Elder Dragon tail. So in this case, they're just going to kind of force him off the lane. But has found level 6 and has plenty of mana to work for himself, so zapping away. And no, oh wow, he almost didn't break through the trees sufficiently, but he did exhaust his full mana pool to escape.
I mean, the kill on Lacals on the top lane wasn't that detrimental to his farm. He's still sitting at the highest CS at about 25. So, and he has got those phase speeds up as well, so he's doing quite a bit of damage now. Slark, on the other hand, hasn't picked up that level 6. He's actually been shut down relatively well in that top lane, shutting down that level 6 for just a little bit longer, slowing him down as he was actually getting really close, which then makes Slark sort of unstoppable. Just sits back at the tower, regens up, comes straight back into the team fight, picks up a kill, but now it looks like they might actually turn around and go into the Doom.
Yeah, they're trying to find their target. Nighttime makes it very difficult, but finally they get the Burrow Strike onto Mashimaru. He's certainly going to fall. They pop the Ultimate of Mirana just to get in a good place for it, but now Slark has been steering chains down after the Frostbite. Is he still going to go? Not without the ulti, I don't think. But the Wild Wing Ripper, there it is, tanking up that tower. They're going to get Lakel for sure. They're actually focusing him down, which is quite wise, because otherwise he could do a lot of turnaround damage. Still gets the Sleight of Fist off, but not really hurting them too much at only rank 1, and they're able to get a 3 net kill advantage out of that. Very nicely done.
Polishima with the stem back jumping forward, but they're still going to pick up a kill as well on Chen, and actually could maybe look to pick up Slicks as well.
Should be a pretty easy kill if he manages his mana appropriately, but there is going to be rotation in from Ember Spirit to guarantee it. They're just playing patty cake in trees, but now finally they searing chains him down, and that is going to be a double kill for ABBA, a much needed one at that.
And yeah, that'll give him a couple of levels that he needed, that he may have lost out on, having to leave the lane at level 6, level 7 to come to the top and help out his teammates. But TNK, despite getting quite a few early levels, hasn't picked up those boots just yet. Sanking, on the other hand, is getting a lot of gold here and taking quite a bit of the warding, and that's always fantastic for a support if you get those early, well, the early gold, and then be able to keep up the wards, keep up the vision, and sort of just further continue this rotation with him at the Chen. And Chen is in fact rushing a mechanism as well, just gone for the boots. We've got phase boots heading out now to Isolated, so he's not going to go for the Hand of Midas as we see most partners going for, or he might still go for it. I mean, it still works out pretty well if they are going to push us into the late game, which it's I don't know, at the moment it's undecided who might have the strongest late game. They do still have the Ember Spirit, they've got the Darkseer. It's always difficult playing against the Darkseer once he gets that wall up, and you know, it's sort of wide open at the moment. So and as we saw last game, MiTH-Trust doing really well in the laning phase. Sort of a swing around here. ADN not doing too terrible in their laning phase, sitting ahead at about, well, still actually behind on gold by about 1,000 and 2,000 experience.
Nice stack of ABA. He's going to go ahead and use his bottle, get a regen rune snag, and pop it off to stay very, very mobile across the map. Ball Lightning spamming it out as he has pretty much unlimited mana regen until the buff dispels. So that is really, really potent, but he's not going to be able to set it up for any kill opportunities. There's no rotations towards the mid lane. In fact, he's just going to use it to TP down bottom, maybe find something here onto Mirana, but she still has her leap available, and we do have Sand King as well lurking in the shadows, finally reclaiming his tangos. That's been bothering me all game, is they've been, because they didn't have the tangos shared properly initially, they've been either on the Chen, on the Mirana, or sitting on the ground this whole game. Now he finally has them, and might need to use them to tree cut out in a bad spot. Sandstorming, the vacuum will cancel, and they will be able to bring it down.
Yeah, that's what they needed. I mean, that ABBA now getting a little bit of a head start, and hopefully going to go straight into that Orchid Malevolence and not anything else, not the Bloodstone or anything along those lines. I don't doubt that ABBA will go straight into the Orchid, and it will help so much against the Potem as well, who's now just going to the phase drums build, and he's actually going to drop down here.
Oh, actually, yeah, diving very deep, in a bad spot, no leap available. They are going to get a defensive TP, might be able to pounce ABBA in under the tower, but still scouting him out. They will find Darkseer, pounce, come on, it needs to connect under the tower, or there is no way that is going to be killed. And one more right click, there he goes. Now Slark having to pop his ulti if the Sorcerer would pursue, but knowing he has it at his disposal, Sorcerer's just going to walk away. Maybe not rapidly enough, though. Mr. Ghost coming in for the flank. Does have 2 points of Burrow Strike. No mana left on the Storm Spirit. Following up as quick as he can. Magic Stick as well, but still gets hit by the stun. The pounce. The Dragon Tail will come as well, but they're not. They're going to have a huge amount of TPs coming in. Full reinforcements, 4-man bottom, and it looks like they might be able to get a nice turnaround kill here on Slicks, getting the root in from the Dark Troll Summoner. Arrow to the face on Lakel's. Mr. Ghost getting a stun onto TNK. Doom coming out. It's just back and forth right now. Spells flying out left and right. Nobody dying yet, though. It's going to be Storm Spirit on the back end, being pursued by Slark. That will be the first to fall. Chen contributing quite a bit with that big test of faith. Now going toe-to-toe with Lakel's is Fish, but the Invis-Rune will come to Lakel's, and Darkseer will face Tank and Arrow. So the end result is only one net kill, and that is on the Storm Spirit behind his tower.
Yep, and ADN actually pulling back a bit now on the gold graph. I'm just keeping a close eye here because I want to see, even though they're ahead in gold, I mean ahead in kills, I want to see if they are able to maintain this the small gold lead at the moment. They are just bursting ahead, but Chen is going to have that mech up at about 200 gold if they do put a bit of pressure onto this tower. They don't have the Elder Dragon, but here we have Invis Lakel, so nice, looking to maybe get a kill on XXL. Yeah.
Oh, pretty easy pickings there, but they're still doing a lot of damage in AoE on a secondary target there, the Sand King. So not only picking up the Chen, but getting a freebie that jumped in right on top of it. I don't think they realized the Invis Iron Shell until it was too late, and he just flame guarded right on top of them. So that was pretty brutal. He still has all 3 fire remnants, and they're going to be pushing down on bottom. Now, it's sufficient to mention they don't have a buckler or a mechanism, so the push is a little bit harder because none of their heroes are going to pick up a Basilius. And in this position, they are going to be slowly sieging it down with this Iron Shell creep cut. But this gives an opening for ADN to try to turn it around. Fortification comes out, Slark's coming in, and this could be really bad. Storm Spirit has a decent amount of mana, but doesn't manage it appropriately, gets stunned out, counts, and that's the kill. They do still lose the tower, though, as the Dire Creeps finish their very important work. Isolated jumping in, doesn't have arrow, but does have leap right clicks. For that phase boots advantage, yeah, that's a death on P&K. But
yeah.
No,
The arrow was whipped quite a bit there. Yeah, the arrow was whipped quite a bit there. I mean, he saw them running more towards their tower, and he threw the arrow relatively skew, but I mean, he still managed to pick up the Crystal Maiden, and they'll get the tower here since the Elder Dragon form has a while left. And yeah, after this tower, that should be possibly close to Arcane Boots up on Mr. Ghost, and they continue the Spider-Man Dota with Mechanism. After this tower, Mechanism should be up on XXL, and I don't know, there's not really much they can do here. There's the Blink net available on Mashimaru.
Gonna go for the Doom onto Slark, but we're gonna see Mr. Ghost trying to disrupt that with a Burst Strike, and a lot of activity from the Spirits, Ember and Storm, all over them, but using their ultis to just get such an advantageous position in pursuit of the ends of the earth. Still 2 Fire Remnants remain as needed, but with these Searing Chains, just right clicks, hell yeah, they're going to be able to finish off the Priestess of the Moon. So they are in such a good position with their amount of damage and their amount of range of initiation now that they have this Doom coming in. A Blink Doom on Slark was just what the Doctor ordered, and it's setting themselves up to take more of a foothold in this game.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the one thing about MiTH-Trust is they don't secure the early game like so in the last game. They know exactly what to do. They know exactly how to bring it back, and this is it. They're giving. I think they're trying to give ADN a little bit of a sense of security in their pushing ability, especially since they had a relatively good start alongside Slark doing really well in the off lane, and now they just, as you mentioned, the blink on the Doom came out of nowhere. I mean, I knew he was farming up, but he got the blink so quickly. And now, just sort of out of nowhere, comes in and managed to pick up the Slark. And there wasn't enough mana. I checked the Chen's mana to see if he could send back the Slark, but he actually had none left. So that was a bit of a problem. They couldn't bring him back. There was not enough mana for the Hand of God as well. And nice pick off, nice chase back. And Storm Spirit as well, dodging out on a couple of arrows with his Ball Lightning, and now sitting at level 11. As opposed to the level 9 Dragonite. So besides being slightly behind in the XP in the beginning, now managed to pull ahead with a couple of kills, sitting 6-3, and he's going to have that Orchid relatively soon.
Yeah. It's just pretty unfortunate for Applez DreamNet right now that their supports are so underfarmed. I mean, yes, the Crystal Maiden is playing hardcore number 5 on the side of MiTH-Trust, and is pretty much floating no gold herself, but they were able to get so much out of this Jungle Doom that it completely makes up for that fact. Meanwhile, we see Chen and Sand King really low as far as farm potential. No blink for a very long time, and as you're mentioning, mana issues on the Chen. He has his mechanism, but that's all he's got going for him, and needs essentially his full mana pool fresh from the fountain in order to actually commit to a fight. So he'll be able to mech Hand of God and Test of Faith in the next team fight for sure, but he can't just like continuously hit a spell here, hit a spell there, and then come back into it. Now do you see the Dragon Port popping? One more right click, and yes, they will get the tower, but jumping in is an Iron Shell Lakelj with a full Flame Guard, ready to rumble. Taking a lot of damage, though. He will be bursted down. Nice Test of Faith, but here's the epicenter. Mr. Ghost, double burrow, huge damage from the Sand King. The Mechanism keeping them up as well as they just completely obliterate. That's Crystal Melton for you, but we do see Storm Spirit throwing out a couple of right clicks. Should be enough to kill off the Slarker. Forced to deny. You know, he will fall. And now Lakelj having to retreat before the Burrow Strike connects. Wow, that was quite a turn of events with the Sand King. Very, very nice movement from him. Mr. Ghost. Level 1 Burrow Strikes connecting on people is unfathomable, but the epicenter hitting on 2 people 100% at level 6, that is just incredible. Really good plays from a very poor Sand King. I mean, he's just essentially he's running the budget build where he can just do so much with so little.
Yeah, and he's got enough of the Arcane Boots now, so that'll actually help him out a lot in team fights, especially the Chen, who now has the Arcane Boots as well. That sneaky little jump off to the side, getting the Orphan onto, as you mentioned, that was really well played by Mr. Ghost. And you know, that team fight went actually really well. They forced the buyback out from Lakelj, which will slow down his core items a bit. Sitting on 800 gold, not really having enough to buy anything just yet. Storm, however, is still was edging closer and closer to that awkward malevolence. I think he should have it after a little trip to the jungle quickly. And at the same time, you know, they are gonna keep up the pressure. MiTH-Trust, they're not gonna back down just yet, sitting at 15 to 10. Gold, still 1,000 lead for MiTH-Trust, 1,000. They're all gonna dive in the middle.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. There was no vision there. The smoke was almost superfluous. It was just essentially he was farming in mid with no way of knowing what was coming. With or without smoke, they were right on top of him, and they were able to pick him off very nicely. And they still have almost all their cooldowns. We do see Poloshima and Mr. Ghost in a pretty good position to counter-initiate if they do continue to push on this tower, but it looks like they will just take the kill and walk away.
Yeah, and he's going to have Epi again in about 20 seconds more or less, so they are doing a little sneaky thing here, sitting in the side of the jungle. Doom has got that stomp now as well, the blink stomp that we saw earlier, taking out the Slark, who has picked up something that's flying over. Is it? Yeah, it's going to be the Ogre Axe. It's going to head straight towards that BKB, like I mentioned. The only problem with him going for the BKB instead of the Lincoln Sphere is I don't think he won't be able to get sent back by the Chen. He'll just be able to get healed. And
no, you can still do it during BKB.
Can you?
100%.
Oh god, of course you can. Sorry.
No, I mean, honestly, it's something that if you don't test it out yourself, it's not as intuitive. You don't just assume, okay, well, this spellcast, it's like an Omni Knight heal doesn't work, but a Chen send back does. So, but yeah, it definitely is able to be done during BKB.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you learn something new. What's the point of casting unless you don't learn something new every day? And I actually think I even knew that, but I just had a little bit of a brain fart for a second there. Talk about our myth busting. This is a little bit of a myth busting episode. We saw the sleep and they destroyed the Pugna Ward in the last game. So that kind of debunks that it's not seen as a building or a structure. It's just seen as a ward in a sense. But yeah, speaking of wards, Sentry Ward going down in the middle lane here, kind of giving the intentions that MiTH-Trust are looking to set up a little something in the middle lane. And with that Doom now up to level 1. I thought the Doom had a bit more than that.
He's got a lot of gold, but as far as experience goes, yeah, you're absolutely right. He is a little bit behind schedule here, so I'm going to try to make it up a little bit in the jungle, but it's just because they've been grouping up so much. They've almost always been at least as 4-man, and it does cost them in the experience. Like, the gold is looking okay for them, but the experience is down below a 1,200 deficit, and that's not exactly where you want to be when you have a jungler committed to your team. Usually you get that extra, like, kind of a lane to get more resources, and so far it hasn't really been doing the work that they needed to, but maybe more kills is all they need, and they're going to go forward, going in with a smoke towards the top lane here, bidding it out a little bit as T&K is the one forcing the issue on the mid. So
well, having that Orc Malevolence now on the Storm, which is up, it gives them a lot more options in terms of dooming, but I think we might see Slark go down here. There we go.
Well, they caught the Orc at the end of Doom, but here comes a counter initiation. Huge damage from Mr. Ghost, and although the Darkseer wall and back is there, it doesn't matter. Quick-handed God and Mac, and they are high and dry and completely destroy the two that jumped in on the front line. That was, wow, that was something.
Yeah, I think they need Lekels there to sort of complete that team fight with his Searing Chains. Although his
like if he jumped in, I feel like he would have just died just as easily though. They had a perfect AoE. Mr. Ghost is on the ball with these burrows, setting it up on the Kells. He will fall, and the slow Crystal Maiden has nowhere to run.
Wow. Looks like we might have our first game 3 on our hands here if it continues with this sort of dominating, I guess, domination against MiTH-Trust. Now we're going to get another tower in the top lane, and that'll be the last tier 1 going down for MiTH-Trust. That was a really nice TP, and it's strange enough, it's strange that the Kells didn't jump back immediately. He didn't have a spirit sitting far back that he could jump to, or using the Sleight of Fist to try to dodge out 1 or 2 of the stuns. It's quite strange that he would not react fast enough to that. I feel like he can do it. Let's get a quick look at the pings. Well, everyone's ping seems relatively the same. Bit strange. But yeah, that was a bit uncharacteristic of the Kells not being able to get away there, and maybe trying to commit a bit too much to the tower. But that does give them a nice needed advantage again, and looks like Potem's going for a Lincoln Sphere.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very helpful against the Doom in general, and you don't even have to cast on yourself. You can cast on the Slark, the DK, whichever you want. Yeah. You want to be more active in the fights, and then, of course, she can still get some great benefit from all the stats there. So
Blink Dagger on Mr. Ghost. I don't know if you saw it in the last team fight.
That's huge. Like, I was looking, I thought you were going to talk about the Darkseer one, which is it's pretty nice.
Oh
Just gonna blink Burrow, easy peasy. I'm gonna try to surge away. The mech is there. Okay, that mech certainly helped. The surge might have not been because she was so low, but the mechanism, significant portion of her HP. She's only got 800 HP, so a full magic wand, a mechanism. That's a very significant chunk. Now coming in, Moonlight Shadow will pop it, blink in with the Darkseer, try to vacuum back XXL to burst him down, but he used the mech. Will he get Hand of God? No. But here comes the epicenter. Big damage from Mr. Ghost. Sandstorm after the Burrow. They are just destroying them with this Sand King's abilities, and the Dragonite Cleave on top of it, pinning down KYT, finishing him off here. And they have lost 3, but they have gained so much more, forcing a buyback from the Dragonite, about to arrow down TNK. A couple more right clicks will do the trick, and that was just such a big win for them. Now Doom does buy back, but he's not going to go for it, as Ember Spirit is back at base, just trying to lick his wounds, really.
Yeah, that's the one thing as well, looking at the Darkseer pick up against the Dragonite. Once he gets that big blue dragon, he's going to destroy his own team, essentially, with that slow and AoE. And at the same time, I mean, that was a great fight too, but the chain getting picked off so early, I felt that was a bit unfortunate. I mean, obviously with that Orchid Malevolence being targeted this time onto the Chen, and Doom, I don't think Doom was even used. No, it wasn't. It's still only level 1. It wasn't even used, that team fight. He just got exploded with the Blink Epi, and I kind of thought that him blinking on the Crystal Maiden might have given away the fact that he has got the Blink Epicenter, but MiTH-Trust deciding, you know, we don't care. We're going to fight straight into this, and he came in with a massive Epi, level 2 as well. And we spoke about how underleveled and underfarmed the supports were about 5 minutes ago. And have a look at this now, level 11 and level 9. So Sand King catching up nicely, and has picked up his Arcane Boots as well now.
Yeah, just incredible for him, and yeah, complete disrespect for MiTH-Trust. They definitely saw it. They definitely knew it, unless they really weren't communicating about that pick with the Crystal Maiden, or what almost occurred to be a pick off there. But bottom line is he got an amazing epicenter off, and it just works so well with what they've already got going for themselves. Quick star, whatever the hell that spell's called now. It's not a Starfall, it's a Starstorm. It's the dumbest name ever. But Starstorm plus Breathe Fire plus Red Dragon. It's all the AoE they need, and they are just completely destroying these team fights. And you look at it, you're like, okay, well, the Darkseer team usually has the better AoE, but what do they have? They have Scorched Earth, they have Iron Shell, and Flame Guard. Those are all good AoEs over time, but in that quick, like, 1 second frame that a vacuum occurs, they don't really have that great a follow-through.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to look at what the Storm Spirit can go for now. Probably going to be the BKB coming out next. He's sort of initiating a little bit of split push here by himself. But the rest of MiTH-Trust, the rest of or ADN don't really have to worry about him anymore. They can just push his 5 and really just wreck through everything if they really need to. I mean, they still have all
going in, a double Burrow Strike onto Doom, onto Ember Spirit. The vacuum does nothing. He didn't mech in time, and Ember Spirit has to buy back. But already the Darkseer has fallen. They walk away from the wall, and this opens up Roche for them. In fact, AABBA was pinging out Roche. That's where they thought they were, and they easily could have been because they were smoking. But they went for the opportunity where they could just jump on their opposition, and MiTH-Trust found themselves once again caught outside their base. So down a Darkseer, down a wall, and with Ember Spirit just recently having bought back, they're going to go for this tower, and they're going to take it very easily.
Yeah, and we're getting closer and closer to this blue dragon, and with the BKB Shadowblade, I mean, the initiation that he has, first of all, with that Shadowblade, I was thinking that it maybe wasn't going to go that great for the DK this game, but he's had a fantastic game. 7 for 3, sitting currently at the highest net worth of 10.8k, and I mean, not having the best of farm. If you look at the farm, the creep score, it still is 3 for MiTH-Trust, so 3 cores from MiTH-Trust sitting at the highest. But in terms of the net worth, I mean, you've got the Slark, the Mirana, as well as the DK sitting at the highest net worth of the game, and it's just showing throughout all the team fights how just their synergy at the moment is working so much better. And it's all sort of down to one man. It's this man in the bottom lane here. It's Mr. Ghost, who's just controlling every team fight with epic Burrow Strikes.
Yeah, or especially getting that long range, stretched out double Burrow Strike. They locked down the Doom so hard, they immediately took Ember out of the fight. I mean, he's a glass cannon, and when you can bring him down so easily, it just completely sets the tone for the rest of the fight. And now finding that pick off on the Storm Spirit, he just kind of seemed out of position, and DK punishes him for it, along with a very high damage nuke from that Test of Faith.
Yeah, and now that's just, I mean, look, there's just no fear in Mr. Ghost. He's just going to push this lane by himself. There are 4 heroes, however, smoked up, heading towards him. Lakels is still going for, God, I want to say a Desolator, but I don't know if you might change that into a BKB. I mean, he's just getting shut down so hard. I mean,
Dire's
Ember Spirit's
bottom
power
tower is under
really
attack.
comes from sort of just exploding and snowballing. At the moment, he just that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
It's not his anti-mage. It's not his Luna. He's giving him a go at the Ember Spirit, and it's not going that well. And they're going to lose their third and final tier 2 tower here.
Dire's bottom
Yeah,
tower
this is
under
looking really
attack.
bleak for them right now. I mean, if he has to fall back for the
Dire's
BKB, I
bottom
completely
tower
understand.
has
This Flame
fallen.
Guard absorbs 500 magical damage, but it seems to only last 2 seconds in the legitimate fight. They just have
Yeah.
so much nuke, and they have so many different ways to bring him down easily. So it's been very difficult for him, and yeah, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't blame him at all if he went for the BKB, but it's not a great way to set the tone for the rest of the game, because if you're playing defensively, most Ember Spirits have been picking up 3 damage items before they go a
Yeah.
single defensive component whatsoever, other than maybe Magic Wand. This guy's got Drums of Endurance, which is kind of 50-50, a little bit of durability, a little bit of damage and mobility, but the big deal is, if he goes for the BKB, he's just playing so defensively with a hero that's purely offensive. But we do see a snatch. Oh my, wow. BBAA. Now out of mana, but fast enough on the run to be able to get out. Oh, that was a perfectly timed maneuver there.
You get that?
He got the
Get that on
Aegis,
Oh,
100%.
did you see it? That was so well done. I mean, just on the high ground, oh, fantastic. I think that might actually be a little bit of a saving grace. I mean, Storm Spirit is easily one of the best heroes to have an Aegis of the Immortal on. Aegis Immortal cheese on that hero is just makes him essentially can pick off 2-3 people in a team fight if he does everything perfectly. And we'll see how it goes down here. I mean, we do have still the level 2 epicenter on Mr. Ghost. And they are going to try to breach the high ground here, but they have to second guess it a little bit. I mean, if Storm somehow spots out the Sanking on the side, then he jumps onto the Sanking and picks him off. Which, if he puts the Spirit down soon, he might just spot him out. I mean, if you can kind of, if you're an experienced player, you can kind of sense when there's going to be a
Lakel's gets hit by a huge arrow. Oh my gosh, are they not going to go in on this? That was big. Oh, that was so big. All you have to do with an arrow like that is just wait until he goes for the side of 5th. He has to return to that position,
Radiant's top tower
and
is under
he'll get
attack.
hit by the arrow as long as you time it appropriately. That was a really big one, but they're a little bit too concerned about that back wall. I mean, this is a small choke point, and they don't want to throw this game away, so some great
Radiant's top
restraint
tower
shown,
is
but
under attack.
also a very, very powerful skill shot.
Yeah, they're just going to siege down the tier 3
Dire's
tower and
middle
actually
tower
sort it
has
out.
fallen.
But they don't have a ward on the low ground here. They know the Sanking's waiting for a big epicenter, so I think it's up to BBAA to try and shut down this Sanking once he starts charging up that ultimate, since they do put the ward down up in the high ground there.
Yeah.
Sentry ward is not going to be in range of that.
I think their biggest problem right now is they're up against double Storm Spirit with no Elder Dragon form whatsoever. They've
Yep.
used it to siege, and while that was very effective bringing down the tier 3, now they have no Dragon form. He's almost level 16, and the Storm Spirit has that Aegis of the Immortal. So they are very close to their strongest point, but they just have a little bit more time to go. And in fact, they're going to smoke maneuver up towards the plateau, drop the ward off, and maybe look for an opening on Lakel's, but we'll have to see. For right now, we're going to get a quick pause, as there is a small technical issue.
Have a look at the items quick. Let's have a quick browse of the ADN. Have a look at the Chen. He's picked up the he's picked up the Aghanim Scepter for his ultimates. That's a big one. That is quite a big one. And I'm looking at the race. We've got 2 BKBs on the side of ADN as well. So Doom as well as Storm Spirit are not, they're sort of becoming slowly but surely relevant when it comes to these BKBs on the heroes, on Slark as well as the DK. Well, on the other side, they are still looking, and the Kells has gone for a Maelstrom. So maybe just realizing that he's not getting the farm he was hoping for, and he might actually die over here.
Yeah, he should. I mean, he has no detection. There's no way that he knows it. They can break it out whenever, and he has no Fire Spirits up right now. So, already gone. And that's brutal, because he doesn't have buyback for another, 30... No, he doesn't have enough gold for it, more importantly. The buyback cooldown is just about to come back up, but he's dead in the ground for 50 seconds. And that's just really sad. The fact that he is so underfarmed in the first place only has Maelstrom, Drum, and Phase, and that he's trying those kinds of things when they can just keep on Smoke and Moonlight Shadow. It's not a huge mistake because, honestly, the amount of pressure that ADN is putting out now is black and white compared to what they saw last game. So It's, oh my gosh, that arrow. They will get him once. I don't think they'll get him twice, but who knows? Mr. Ghost it might impress me with the best burrow strike in the world. We'll see it on a 2-3-man burrow. Oh my gosh, they try to set it up, and instead they just fall like rocks. We do see the surge coming out. It is enough to get KYT away, but not, unfortunately, for Doom. Actually, Storm Spirit buying back. Did Aegis expire and I didn't catch it? Wow.
No, he bought back. The Aegis popped. He came
Yeah,
back.
yeah, you're right. Okay, I was just so impressed by the timing that I apparently forgot what happened 10 seconds ago. Yeah, no, he did lose the Aegis. He respawned, immediately died to all that AoE, and then it was forced to buy back here. Now, they do have the Ember Spirit again, but only with a Maelstrom. I don't think it's enough to repel this push. Hand of God, only on a 30-second cooldown, and you just keep pushing with this blue dragon.
Yep, and they're gonna lose the rack. They'll glyph it at the end. But wow, that Mr. Ghost MVP this game by far. I mean, that timing on that stun, and he got 2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a misplay from MiTH-Trust to blink right on top, blink 2 heroes right on top of where the Aegis was spawning. Of course, they were gonna go for an AoE stun there, but you know what can you do? The Wall of Replica just not doing enough work on its own, and they are able to, over and over, just get these massive disables on heroes that can't deal with it. They've got the mechanism, but they don't have a pipe, and they are just getting mauled in these brief stun durations, throwing them up in the air for 2.177 seconds, and that is plenty of time for them to just unleash all their fury upon them.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, and I mean, we spoke about ADN's potential in the first game, and everyone sort of, well, I was even doubting. I was maybe doubting what you said about this being a slightly more even game, but I could definitely see the potential now. We had glimpses of ADN's potential in the last game when it came to some important big team fights, and unfortunately they got out-ratted by Lakel's on the anti-mage. I mean, that does happen, fair enough. I mean, that happens to most teams.
Yeah, even the best of the best can.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can do against that. An anti-mage secured that much farm, and a Batrider out of nowhere. I mean, who picks Batrider anymore? Nobody picks Batrider anymore. So that was maybe just caught them off guard. But you're starting to see the potential now of ADN, and it's quite scary.
Yeah, right now Dire don't have a single buyback that I can see, and that looks really bad for them. If the push ensues as they intended to with this blue dragon form, there's very little they can do to stop it. Like, there's AC aura on the tier 3, fortification is down. They're gonna try to go for an amazing back wall, but all Mr. Ghost has to do is just sit in the background, and Storm Spirit has to zip on him. This is one thing I haven't really gotten a chance to talk about, but Storm Spirit is actually a pretty good tanking counter if he can scout him out. If he can see him when he's charging the epi, blink on him to cancel. Oh, they're going to go in. Hardcore, but ABA jumps on Chen, who has that mechanism in here. Will maybe come the epicenter? No, not going to come. He gets doomed, and he's not going to be able to fight, but it doesn't matter. They're so underfarmed that even without the Sand King, they can't hold it. They don't have enough damage on the kills. They jump in and lose most of the life on the Storm Spirit, all of his mana, and the two beefiest guys, Darkseer and Doom, just get dropped by the remainder. It was a great blink from Doom, a great usage of his ultimate, but it looks like this is going to be the conclusion here. ABBA does what he can, but now Burrow Strike, and now dead. That's got to be the end of the game right there. TNK does drop a great freezing field to kill off the Dragon Knight, but that's 4 racks down. Full wipe against MiTH-Trust, and ADN take it away. So they took too long to pick that Sand King mid-epi. That was the big deal. And actually, he didn't even channel the epicenter there, so I'm not too sure. But what I was about to say is Storm Spirit has the potential to, at the very least, cancel his Blink Dagger by jumping on top of him and doing some damage. But more importantly, you can get the Electric Vortex and just stop the channel altogether. And the problem with that is that they need vision, which Chen and Sand King together dropped so many sentries, it was impossible for them to get a real good perspective on what was going on. Mr. Ghost was just ghosting in the corner, hiding out, and waiting to really become known.
100% MVP Mr. Ghost this game. It was, I mean, he really played fantastically, and it's always great to see this coming from a captain, especially coming from a game like Game 1 where you got absolutely crushed, and it's so great to see him. It sounds really cliche and corny, but sort of leading his team, and MVP this game for 100%. Mr. Ghost playing fantastically, and as I mentioned, leading his team to victory, and that was a fantastic game to cast, and I'm really looking forward to game number 3. I think MiTH are really going to have to dig deep in their toy box and pull out a couple of tricks to to get this next game, because ADN they must have this insane momentum at the moment, and to take out a big name like MiTH-Trust, okay, yeah, fair enough, they were the Orange Han team, which I'm sure I've never played Han, so I'm sure they were pretty big in that game. And coming to Dota 2, being the underdogs, as you mentioned earlier, supporting the underdogs, and here, man, that was awesome, man. If they can pull that off again, we're gonna see some big upsets.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the conclusion of this match. I knew it was going to be a lot closer than other people. People just slated it, MiTH-Trust in the books, but we see them fighting back. ADN takes Game 2 of the Best of 3 series, and Game 3 will be coming up in just a few minutes, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the AOC Pro Cup. Quick shout out to AOC for sponsoring, as well as Dota Talk and DapBet for supporting. And we're going to be going into this next one in just a few minutes, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoy the commentary. I'm Blaze of Dota Talk. You can find me over at twitter.com/Blazecasting, and Congo from South Africa is able to be found on both Twitter and Facebook at Congo Kyle for Twitter and Congo ZA for Facebook. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys on the next one, and hopefully it's as action-packed as the previous games have been. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys on the next one.